Okay, so we're going to go over the general anatomy of one of our sample workout cards here. There's a lot involved and a lot going on these workout cards, and I'm going to close this up for you so you can see different parts and pieces to it. But I just want to give you a general explanation of what's going on here and what I'd like to see on these things. So you can see up here in the top left corner here, there's a place that says S, recovery question mark, pain question mark, soreness question mark. That is just a reminder to the trainer to ask a subjective assessment of the client of how's your recovery, or how's your pain, how's your soreness. You can ask this any number of ways of how you feeling today, how you feeling from the last workout, any major pains or problem areas or anything like that. I ask this before every single workout in some form or another to my client to assess their recovery, their readiness, their freshness level, just to see what I'm dealing with for the day. That doesn't always mean, if they're sore, that I'm going to really taper it down necessarily. It just means I'm going to maybe warm them up a little bit better, or slowly and subtly build them up to finish strong, or perhaps I really will back off and just kind of give them a lighter day, just depending on what I'm seeing, really. The mind and body don't always work as one together, so I just use that to kind of help me make decisions as I go through the workout there. And then next you can see the name. We have Joe Blow here. Then under there it's workout 1, phase 1, B, standard male, full body, 12 to 15, 10 to 12, 8 to failure. And the 8 to failures in parentheses, meaning that we're really focused on just getting at least 2 sets. That third set's optional based on their workload and work capacity at this point. That's actually a typo. This should be phase 1A on this, I believe, actually, but not a big deal. Then next, over here on the top right hand side, you have the RP scale, scale from 1 to 10, that we use a lot to assess pain tolerance and difficulty of a set, or how heavy a weight it may have felt. So next we have, right under the workout part there, it says there's number 1 there. See if I can get this closer for you. It says number 1, warm-ups, and it's 5 to 15 minutes, general, JTLC, then other. And what that means is you should budget for about 5 to 15 minutes of your 60 minutes that you have, focusing on just the general warm-up, the JTLC, and other, especially say inhibition or activation sorts of movements, or whatever kind of self-myofascial release they might need there. But again, just try to preserve that down to about 5 to 15 minutes. So you can see the weights, we're trying to budget for 30 to 60 minutes. And towards the end here, we have time about 15 minutes for the core and stretching. But it just depends on the client in terms of what day they're on, how much work they need with the weights, and what their main goals and objectives are. Then at the bottom you can see here there's stretching number 4, and that's part of that 15 minutes budgeted for the stretching and core and whatnot. So there's a lot on here, and there's a major agenda for each workout, but this allows you to kind of budget time for each one and kind of let you know where you're at. Likewise, however, once clients evolve, they will and get really comfortable with the JTLC and the warm-up process, we have what's called the 15-minute rule, which states that the clients need to show up 15 minutes early and perform these basic warm-ups on their own. But that's when they're ready for it and when they demonstrate mastery of the actual warm-up exercises. So the JTLC should be done with the client many times over until they demonstrate mastery. Then likewise, when they about that time, they should be ready for more volume of the weights and core work and whatnot anyway. So don't just send them off on their own after the first day. Just make sure it's mastered, and then from there, once you feel comfortable, they can do that on their own, allowing for more time with the weights. Okay, so next, you see it says exercise here, and then the exercise list is right on down there. Then I'll go to this first. You can see it's listed A1, then leg press. A2, then machine chest press. B1, hyperextensions. B2, pull downs, and so on, alphanumerically like that. That simply means that A and A there, you can see that's a series of exercise, or a superset. So number 1 and number 2 in the series are going to be supersetted together. So you have A1, A2, means you're just going to go back and forth. So you'll do your first set of leg presses, then your second set will be machine chest press, then back to leg press, then back to chest press, back to leg press, back to chest press, for as many required sets as allocated for that workout. Most of our workouts are supersetted all the way through, and will always be listed by the series of numbers there. So A is a series, B is a series, 1 and 2, C is a series, D, and so on. There's many exceptions to that in terms of athletes or in certain bodybuilding scenarios, you name it. But in general, most of our body composition clients and our general phases are built on the superset principle there. Likewise, here's another version. This is a giant set, or a quad set, whatever you want to call it. We got A1, A2, A3, A4, and so in the core workout here, we're rotating 4 exercises. So you'll go crunch, knee roll, oblique crunch, plank, then back to the top, and continuing to rotate through the circuit. So back to the top. Then you can see we have a rep scheme here. Then weights times reps, etc. The date, very, very important to put the date on there, so when you come back through and we pick this up, we know which workout should be next. Big thing there. Just please don't overlook that. Next, these numbers here are to indicate in this first phase here. This is first workouts that these people would see off the street. And we don't always know where their strength level is, but this far left column here is just to kind of give you a guesstimation of what our average weights are to start with for each exercise. You know, if they seem like if they're on the weak side of the group, then we'll budget for closer to 90 pounds. I've seen people have to start with 0 before, but and likewise 360 pounds. But that's just to give you a rough indicator of an average start, so you're not, you know, shooting from the hip with no target at all. So likewise, that works its way all the way down and gives you a rough estimation of where to start, but all that gets eliminated once you see exactly what the client's true capabilities are. So next, you can see here I've gone through, and this is actually my handwriting here. It's an example of a prepped workout, meaning I've looked through the client's health history report and seen their goals and their capabilities and their weight training history, and I put together the best guesstimation of weights that I thought weights in volume rather that makes sense for this client. So on this general rep scheme here, you can see we're going for 12 to 15 reps, 10 to 12, 8 to failure on these cells here. This is just our first base accumulation phase to get people basically dialed in to do the harder work that's to come, but it's to build a base volume, to build their conditioning and the density of the workout. So it's a very simple rep scheme, but it goes light, medium, and heavy, if you will, of 12 to 15 reps, 10 to 12, and 8 to failure. And all that's designed to do is to get them thinking light, medium, heavy, and that weight loads are always going to be increasing progressively over time. Likewise, we use that RPE scale to dial in the appropriate intensity to the appropriate weight and rep scheme here. So it allows us to dial in, if you will, the appropriate workload there. So likewise, this will evolve from 8 to failure to 6 to failure or even 4 to failure, and finally we'll slowly throw in sort of a 15 to failure drop or strip set there to get some endurance built back up, but likewise to push intensity, because some people do not dial in. They may not be very coordinated or central nervous system efficient in order to control weights and really dial in for very heavy weights. So we can't always get people to go very heavy, much heavier than 8 reps or 6 reps even. However, just to still push intensity and workload, we'll do some of those drop sets or lighter sets there. Plus, some of them like that pump, and it is to work with that mentality of, oh, I want to feel the pump and the burn and walk out of here feeling like I did something. But likewise, it's also to get them out of that whole 10 sets of 3 mindset of I'm just going to do one straight set with the same weight all the time and spin my tracks and never progress and never get anywhere. This is all about progressive overload, progressive resistance. And so, as you can see, I've gone down here and wrote all the weights and prepped out this workout and budgeted for what I thought would be an appropriate workload. And then you see other handwriting here, actually. Just reminding myself, this is the first workout for this client, that first I need to cover the JTLC warm-up and mobility routine, and I'm going to take them through that and explain that and tell them how that fits in and explain the 15-minute rule and the whole 9 yards there, and then really see how they move and just let myself know how they're going to be able to move and adjust to some of the weight training exercises. As you can see, this workout is very basic. It's highly machine-based, and 90% of the population will be able to perform every single one of these exercises without any problems. So the JTLC that'll be in a different video, but it will really flesh out the person's mobility, their strength, their stability, their range of motion, and any movement contraindications they might have. Next, I'm going into weights and core. Then finally, if I have time, I'm going into stretching there. We don't always get into stretching the first day for time reasons, but it just all depends on the client. But there's my basic agenda there. Then at the bottom, the other prep stuff I have here is I just wrote times 1 to 2 rounds of the core work at the end here, just depending on how out of shape their core is there. So finally, here we go. So in that box there, you can see a swiggly line in 90. That swiggly line is just to indicate about. So if I write just 90, there's no about there. That's a cut and dry, solid weight selection that I'm standing by. Sometimes I'll write a swiggly line, then sort of a weight range, sort of like right in here, at about 60 to 70. Gives myself sort of a target. So I remember that there's flexibility with this set, and I'm not in love with any one number I'm trying to hit for that workout. Then finally, the parentheses around that 180 there is to show that this is an optional set. So it's not mandatory. You can see the 8 to failure in that cell, and to the cell next to it, it's 180 for about 8 to failure, optional as well. And you can kind of make that decision based on, 1, how much time you have on this first workout, but 2, are they moving well? Are they running late? How important is it to get the rest of these exercises worked in down here, as well as the core work and the stretching? And do they look physically and mentally tired from those first 2 sets already? More times than not, they can handle that third set, but it's just always sort of budgeted to give you, say, 1 to 2 good sets on day one. And you can see down here, they're left empty, and that's simply because I'm allowing whoever's training them for that point in time to make that decision on maybe they just need more weight. And the trainer with the client always has the executive decision to override any prep decision made here based on what they see to be fit for the situation. However, that is just leaving it open for them to make that decision based on what they're seeing with the client. Likewise, the slash through the parentheses just means that I highly recommend not even doing that set there, so don't even plan for it, but it's still optional. If the situation allows, go ahead and go for it, but this is the first workout, so no need to kill them on day one. We generally like to keep the first day of a total RP collectively of the entire workout about a 5 to 7. So we're not trying to kill them on the first day, we're just trying to assess them, see how hard things are, and just kind of slowly see how the whole workout comes together. Many times they'll look great the first 5 to 10 minutes of the workout, but then halfway in they just hit a wall. So they may have just been rocking and rolling, and then all of a sudden, bam, it hits them, and they're either deconditioned or they are not used to the supersetting. They have a ton of hydrogen or lactate buildup and just getting nauseous from that, or maybe they just didn't even have a pre-workout snack. So a lot of things could be going on, and it's very deceiving at first when they're just cranking through, and it's like your eyes are bigger than your stomach sort of an effect, and they think they can crush through this, but many people hit a wall. So I always aim low on the first day and just try to see if I can get them between a 5 and 7 in totality of the workout. And then from there, I always dial in harder workouts appropriately for that person's capability. So you can see the circled boxes down here. It's got an up arrow, down arrow, equal sign, and quotations there. And that's allowed me to assess the whole workout. I circled the up arrow if my perception was that it was a good workout. Down arrow if it was a bad workout. Equal sign if it was just so-so or just an average workout. But usually they're up arrows normally, most of the time if you're in good control of the client. But it's good to really assess that so you can look back through and make quick notes. But the most important one here is the quotations, so you can assess the total RP of the entire workout to see how hard that workout was. So that's where that 5 to 7 would go. From there on out, I like to dial them in to where they're about an 8 to 9 out of 10, and that's a pretty sustainable workout load and intensity that they can keep over time. Likewise, not hitting 10s all the time and running them into a wall, overtraining and leading to burnout mentally and physically. So you can see the RP scale up here real quick. Goes down from 1 to 10, and warm-ups should be around 5 to 7 on the scale from 1 to 10. Work sets should be about a 7 to 9, at the most 10. You can see those top numbers there. However, more specifically, if they call it very light, it's about a 5. I mean, very light. Set 1, you can see above the 7 is where I would like to see their first work set should be around a 7, which is light to light medium. And the more advanced they get, the more it's going to be on the light medium side of things. That's when you know you're in range of a good working weight and whether it's really even conducive to any sort of progress whatsoever. Then set 2 should be about an 8 or medium to medium heavy. Set 3 should be set 3 should be about a 9 or heavy, and as high as 10 maximum effort. They should not be 10s across the board. They should not be 7s across the board. They should be progressively harder, light, medium, heavy. So why does it have the other terms below the 7, 8, 9, etc.? Well, some people just do not think in numbers, and this whole scale does not make sense to them, and that's why I don't use the Borg scale either. I just find it to be too complex for most people to even conceptualize. However, the subjective terms, if you ask the client, is this light, medium, or heavy, they can answer that pretty easily. Oh, that was light. It was medium. It was a max. Blah blah blah. Well, you can extrapolate that very easily based on those subjective terms to these numbers here to quantify exactly where they're at. So I use that a lot, especially at first with clients to figure out their exact their workload, their pain tolerance, their overall work capacity, and their overall strength. So I may ask on a scale from 1 to 10, how difficult was that set, versus on a scale from 1 to 10, how heavy was that set, versus on the scale from 1 to 10, was it mostly was it fatigue or was it difficulty? You name it. You can kind of tease apart different problems of why the set was actually difficult. Okay, though. So pretty much covered most of this here. There's sometimes there's other options in here, like this barbell bench. On rare exceptions, there'll be options within here to allow you to make the best decision for the client, and because these are not cut and dry templates, it's just a working template to give you a good starting point to develop them and progress them through the 3-phase model or system. But not everyone's the same, and this is designed to be flexible. Likewise, one thing I need to cover here, the machine shoulder press has got 2 asterisks here, and it says 10 rep rule or standing behind the neck press. We have a very heavy calibrated machine shoulder press machine. Likewise, some of our elderly and female clients are not very strong with overhead pressing motion, and that's why we always start on the machine shoulder press anyway. However, we have a 10 rep rule. If they cannot perform 10 reps with 10 pounds, which is the lowest setting on the machine shoulder press, we actually will just take them right over to the standing behind the neck barbell press. If their stability is real poor, you can go seated, but I find that many of these elderly or less than strong females can actually perform the standing behind the neck press a little bit more efficiently, plus any sort of range of motion or flexibility problems. Then we build them up over time and bring them right back to the machine shoulder press. However, if they can get at least 10 reps, I'd prefer to build them from 10 up to 15 reps and slowly start adding the weight up from there. So that's just one FYI for you. All right. Then down here we have our a very simple chart and key. This is a little old now. We have this behind the clipboards. It's much more advanced, but this is the very simple notes that we're going to go through in a minute. And then some other basic abbreviations down here. So you can see there's 4 week blocks here. There's 4 weeks worth of blocks here that you will go through and take your notes. But we'll go over note taking and prepping as well. But here's a basic prepped day 1 workout card, and sometimes we also have some extra notes down here. I place this block out and put some special notes for the workout. So a lot of stuff going on here. Please read each card because they'll have special stuff on them.